the expert on the law, huh?
That is the law.
Are you a lawyer? Are you a judge?
I got you on camera right now.
Great, I'm glad you do.
Okay, I'm showing at the beginning of this video an encounter I had in summer of 2024 with a homeowner who has a walkway that he's built on the edge of the water, over the water. Before I turned on the camera, he was telling me I was a fool. He was harassing me, and I just want to kind of recap that experience. I have been back there again fishing, but I didn't see him. I want to recap the experience. I want to cover some of the laws that are surrounding this encounter so that I can help inform other fishermen on what their rights are and some websites and information you can use to kind of defend yourself if you run into these kind of idiots that are harassing you on the water. All they're doing is they're flexing their muscles, they're getting territorial, and they want to push people around because they just want to think they own the section of water where a lot of the bass are during the summertime. So I hope you find this video useful, and I'm going to get rolling right here.
Later on, buddy.
This encounter was on the edge of Lake Washington in the city of Bellevue. Lake Washington is very close to Seattle. In fact, parts of the lake border in Seattle. It's in Washington State. So it's a very large lake. A lot of people fishing smallmouth and largemouth bass. There's salmon, there's trout, all kinds of species, and there's a lot of homeowners here. This view doesn't show his walkway that he's built out there, but this is the area right here. It's worth noting that he can't even see me fishing there from his home or even his backyard. All right, now we're looking at the Washington State Constitution. Article 17 regarding tidelands is what we're interested in. Section 1. There's only one section. The state of Washington asserts its ownership to the beds and shores of all navigable waters in the state up to and including the line of ordinary high tide in waters where tides ebbs and flow, and up to including the line of ordinary high water within the banks of all navigable waters or navigable rivers and lakes, provided that this section shall not be construed so as to debar any person from asserting his claim to vested rights in the courts of the state. All right, basically, let's break this down. What we're talking about here is we're not talking about where tides ebbs and flows. That's out on the salt water, either in the ocean, the Puget Sound, or things like that. What we're interested in is the ordinary high water mark, the area I have highlighted right here. Let's see if I can make that bigger. Okay. The state owns everything up to the beds and shores of all navigable waters in the state, up to and including the line of ordinary high water within the banks of all navigable rivers and lakes. Okay, we're at the Washington Administrative Code. This is their website, and I want to go into the area which talks about the definition of navigable waters, and that's in section 332.30.106, and I believe it's number 41. Yes. Let's see. Navigability or navigable means that a body of water is capable or susceptible of having been or being used for the transport of useful commerce. The state of Washington considers all bodies of water meandered by government surveyors as navigable unless otherwise declared by court. That's pretty interesting, that last sentence. Anyway, if you didn't believe that last sentence, then I can tell you that commerce is anytime somebody wants to build a dock on the lake. They're using commerce and they're using transportation on the lake to build something at the end of their property. So that is what navigable means. So this lake is navigable waters, okay? And I navigated to the area I fished with my kayak by paddling there. It's that simple. Okay, we're at the Department of Ecology State of Washington website, and where it talks about ordinary high water mark. They have a written definition here. That mark that will be found by examining the bed and banks and ascertaining where the presence and action of waters are so common and usual and so long continuing in all ordinary years as to mark upon the soil a character distinct from that of the abutting upland in respect to vegetation, as that condition exists on June 1st, 1971, as it may naturally change thereafter, that's important, or it may change thereafter in accordance with permits issued by local government or the Department of Ecology. Provided that in any area where the ordinary high water mark cannot be found, the ordinary high water mark adjoining salt water shall be the line of mean higher high tide, and the ordinary high water mark adjoining fresh water shall be the line of mean high water. Now, that's interesting, that second paragraph there. You can find the ordinary high water mark in the scenario I'm talking about here by using vegetation factors here. They even have some examples, pictures. You can see that some plants are below and some plants are above. They talk about trees growing on the floating peat. They talk about extreme high water and ordinary high water. Okay, I'll get into the next piece. Here we see, in relation to extreme high and extreme low water, the position of the ordinary high water mark varies from site to site and changes through time due to a number of factors, including, what's important to me here is, stormwater runoff, which makes water levels in the lake come up and down throughout the year, waves, wind, substrates, groundwater flowing into the lake potentially or on a river stream, and consistency of pool elevations. That's really important too here. So in the next piece, I'm going to go over here to the ordinary high water mark. And basically this is a publication the state uses. They probably issued this to their employees in order to guide them on how to determine what these are. Okay, I want to direct your attention to this area 5.2.3. Assuming the OHWM on a lake is the same as the mean high water, the SMA definition of OHWM directs the use of mean high water only in rare cases when you cannot find an OHWM in the field. And then they talk about determining the mean high water is problematic. But basically they're saying you need to go in the field to do this, all right? And I'm going to get to the section next where they use aquatic vegetation in order to determine the ordinary high water mark. Okay, in this document they provide an example. Crystal Lake in Snohomish County includes areas of open water, Crystal and Little Lake, with an extensive area of peat at the north end of the system. A field investigation determined that ordinary high water mark for the lake extends to the north end of the peat mat. So here's the lake as you see it, but the ordinary high water mark extends way over above all of this green area, this vegetation that's exposed where there's no water in this photo. Okay, so just because there's no water at certain times of the year covering the earth or the vegetation doesn't mean that that's not where the ordinary high water mark is. They even give examples of beaver activity and things like this. So there are a lot of nuances to this that you should understand. You should look at this document. Here is provided another example in this document. Clear Lake, Skagit County. Associated wetlands on the slope gently grade to wetlands within the ordinary high water mark of the lake. They're talking about this area here. You got to read the document to understand the nuance. Here's another example they're providing. Cle Elum River Delta, Cle Elum Lake. Shoreline jurisdiction encompasses the entire delta within the floodplain. They're basically talking about all this brown area. This is part of the states. They own this, okay? Even though it's not covered in water currently. Once the water comes up on this, you can go there with your boat. It's navigable probably, huh? The appendix here talks about plant species distribution in relation to the ordinary high water mark, and they break it down by common names, species names, and they have it by trees, shrubs, herbs, etc. Okay? And this is where it gets kind of complicated. You got to be able to identify species if you want to go to court or you want to defend yourself one way or another. So I'm going to go into a couple of examples I see on this area where I encountered this person. And I saw vine maple, which is not the same as big leaf maple, but I'm going to show you this. Big leaf maple says it's above the high water mark, and they look similar, but I saw vine maple there. So you can see it's considered a shrub in here, and it's considered straddling or above. So it can be in the water and real close to the high water mark. I'm just putting the pointer on the vine maple. There's actually some alder there as well. Okay, here I'm getting into the species which identifies that I'm definitely at or below the ordinary high water mark, and it's called yellow iris. Okay. Limited to areas of permanent shallow water along the shores of lakes, ponds, and streams, ditches, and swales. This is the scientific name. And you can see it's below or at straddling the ordinary high water mark. By the way, this is a noxious weed, and there's a website here that talks about this plant. Okay, where does it grow? In temperate wetlands along the margins of lakes and slow-moving rivers, commonly found in very shallow water or mud. And it talks about its ability to deal with different types of soil. This plant was definitely present, and I was on the water side of it, so I was definitely below the ordinary high water mark. And there were some other plants there, some types of grasses that I won't even get into, but I only need is one key species to prove that I was definitely below the ordinary high water mark. And this person, this landowner, was basically flexing his muscles, getting territorial and aggressive, and he knew what he was doing. He's an attorney. He's got millions of dollars. He just wants to harass people and keep them away. But he doesn't own the water. All along the side of his walking deck, there's the yellow iris. You can see the yellow flower right there. Okay, I'm here looking at the code in Washington regarding hunter harassment or fisherman harassment. Okay, anybody's obstructing the taking of fish or wildlife is a gross misdemeanor. So by this guy harassing me, he was interfering with me in lawful taking of fish. This is he wasn't disturbing fish or anything, but he was definitely he was obstructing the taking of fish. All right. So he's breaking the law. I could have called the game warden on him, but I knew I was pretty much done fishing in that area. He just kept me there for a little while because he wanted to get some attitude and get territorial on me. I wanted to let him know that if I come back there and he sees me, he's going to have another encounter. And I did return there again and caught some fish, but he wasn't there. All right, I hope somebody out there in the world finds this useful in the future. Good luck fishing, guys.